The shadows of hollow pines were never meant to sleep. After the sealing of the hollow, Calla Monroe and Luka Hale believed the nightmare had ended. The forest was quiet, the blood moon gone, and their bond, sacred and eternal, seemed unbreakable. But this is season 2, and peace in hollow pines never lasts. As new enemies rise and old magic resurfaces, Calla and Luka must face the truth behind the Guardian's curse, and the cost of keeping love alive when fate itself demands blood. The moon is rising again. The hollow remembers, and destiny always collects what it's owed. Welcome back to Hollow Pines, where love is a bond and the night never truly ends. If you're ready for more dark romance, forbidden magic, and cinematic fantasy, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for all episodes of Moonbound, The Guardian of Hollow Pines, Season 2. The fog rolled through Hollow Pines like a living thing, curling around the gnarled pines and settling over the town in slow, deliberate waves. Calla Monroe stood at the edge of the forest, the bond mark on her wrist faintly glowing beneath the pale moonlight. Her chest rose and fell with uneven breaths, the chill cutting through her thin sweater, but she barely noticed. The forest had been silent for weeks, but tonight felt different. A low, sibilant whisper grazed her ears. It was soft at first, a distant susurration carried on the wind, but it quickly grew sharper, closer, as though someone, or something, was threading through the fog. Calla's pulse quickened. She pressed her hand to the mark and the warmth seared through her veins, a reminder that the hollow was never truly gone. "Luka," she murmured, her voice trembling. The name felt heavier now, layered with the memory of everything they had survived. From the shadows, a figure emerged, sleek, golden eyes catching the moonlight, fur bristling as if charged with electricity. Luka Hale stepped forward, his wolf form shifting into human just beyond the line of trees. His presence was both comforting and terrifying. Even in his human guise, the residual aura of the beast lingered, and Calla could feel it tugging at her magic, testing the edges of her control. "You shouldn't have come here alone," Luka said, his voice low, a growl threading beneath the words. "I had to know," Calla whispered, her fingers tightening around the rune. "Something's wrong. The forest, it's whispering again." Luka's gaze swept the tree line, tense. "It knows it's awake." Calla swallowed hard, the weight of his words sinking into her like the fog pressing against her skin. "But I thought we sealed it. The hollow is supposed to be gone." "Gone doesn't mean forgotten," Luka said. His eyes darkened. "The hollow remembers, and right now, it remembers you." The wind picked up, twisting the fog into eerie shapes that seemed almost human in form. Calla shivered, half in fear, half in anticipation. She had learned in the past months that fear and curiosity were often inseparable, especially when it came to the forest. A soft glow began to pulse beneath the surface of the ground near the roots of the oldest trees, faint at first, then brighter, like silver veins of living light. Calla took a tentative step forward. "It's the blood moon," she breathed. She didn't need to see it yet. She could feel its presence in her bones, a subtle vibration through her skin that made her hair prickle. "It's coming." Luka stepped closer, placing a protective hand at her shoulder. The warmth of him was grounding, a tether to reality in the midst of growing chaos. "Then we prepare," he said. His gaze softened for a fraction of a second, just enough for Calla to see the man behind the wolf, the one who had saved her more times than she could count, the one who had become both anchor and danger in equal measure. Calla nodded, though her stomach tightened with unease. Something ancient was stirring beneath the forest, older than the hollow they had fought, older than any nightborn she had ever faced. Her mother's voice, long silent in her memories, seemed to echo faintly in the rustle of leaves. "The Guardian's work is never done." The fog shifted again, revealing faint shapes among the trees, silhouettes of figures too thin, too sharp, to be human. Calla's breath caught. They were just echoes, remnants of shadows long buried, but their presence pressed against her like the weight of inevitability. "They're coming back," she whispered, almost to herself. Luka's jaw tightened. "Then we won't be waiting for them. We'll meet them head-on, together." Calla looked at him, at the golden eyes softened by moonlight, at the quiet determination etched into his face. Her pulse thrummed with more than fear, a heady mix of longing, dread, and the familiar surge of power that came from standing beside him. She let the rune flare faintly, a silver glow that intertwined with the mist around them. The whispers rose into a chorus, faintly musical yet menacing, carrying words she could not quite understand. Each pulse of the rune made them sharper, clearer, like the forest was testing her resolve, waiting to see whether she would falter. Calla took a deep breath, steadying herself. "Then we start," she said, voice firm despite the tremor she couldn't hide. Luka inclined his head. "Always together." As the fog thickened, twisting into strange, sinuous forms around them, Calla felt the weight of the hollow's presence pressing into her soul. And yet, beneath the terror, there was a thrill she could not deny. A pulse of magic, a surge of connection with the forest, with Luka, with her own destiny. The blood moon was coming, and this time, the guardian would not face it unprepared. Together they stepped into the shadowed woods, the fog swallowing their figures until only faint golden eyes and a silver glow marked their presence. Hollow pines slept beneath the mist, unaware that the forest was awakening once more, and that the war for its soul was about to begin. The forest had grown silent again, but the stillness was heavy, unnatural, as if the trees themselves were holding their breath. Calla and Luka moved carefully along the narrow path, each footstep muffled by moss and fallen pine needles. The faint silver glow from Calla's rune illuminated the roots and gnarled trunks, casting elongated shadows that writhed like living things. "Do you feel it?" Calla asked, her voice low, almost lost in the whispering wind. Luka's golden eyes scanned the surrounding trees, alert. "It's stronger tonight. The blood moon is rising. Its power, it's close to breaking the seal we made." Calla's pulse quickened. She had sensed the surge hours ago, an almost electric hum threading through her veins, but hearing it confirmed by Luka made the sensation unbearable. Her fingers pressed against the mark on her wrist. It throbbed like a heartbeat in the dark, spreading faintly up her arm in delicate silver veins. "I thought we finished this," she whispered, voice tight. "I thought we sealed it forever." Luka's jaw tightened, the light from the rune reflecting in the subtle creases of his face. "Sealed isn't gone. The hollow doesn't forgive, Calla. It waits. It remembers. And the blood moon, it calls to you, to your power." Calla swallowed, a tremor of both fear and exhilaration crawling through her. The air felt charged, alive. Every leaf shimmered as if touched by invisible flames, and the mist curled around her boots in ghostly tendrils. She had trained, she had learned, but she knew instinctively some forces were too old, too vast, to be tamed easily. "Then we stop it," she said, lifting her chin. The determination in her tone belied the quiver in her limbs. "Whatever it wants, we stop it." Luka exhaled slowly, a low sound that might have been a growl or a sigh. "It won't be easy. Not this time." He reached out, brushing Calla's hair from her face. The warmth of his touch was grounding, a tether in the midst of chaos. "But we face it together, as always." A faint rustle came from deeper in the forest, soft and deliberate. Calla stiffened. The silver glow of the mark pulsed sharply as if sensing the movement, as if warning her of what lurked just beyond the mist. "Something's coming," she breathed, closer than before. From the shadowed trees, a faint red glow emerged, weaving between the trunks like liquid fire. The blood moon itself had begun to rise, its color bleeding into the night sky. A deep, ominous crimson that cast the forest in surreal light. Every stone, every leaf, every twisted root seemed to drink in the scarlet glow, reflecting it in 1,000 trembling shadows. Calla's vision blurred with the intensity. She gripped her wrist tighter. The runes pulsed in tandem with the rising moon, flaring in faint arcs along her forearm. Magic, raw and potent, coursed through her. It was intoxicating and frightening all at once. "You're powerful," Luka murmured, stepping closer. His hand hovered near hers, though he didn't touch her. "More than I imagined. More than either of us knows." Calla's lips parted in a small gasp. "It's too much sometimes," she admitted, voice trembling. "I can feel it pulling at me, like it wants me to break." Luka's eyes softened, catching the silver light from the rune. "Then I'll hold you," he said quietly, almost reverently. "Whatever happens, I won't let it consume you alone." For a moment, the forest seemed to pause with them. Leaves frozen in the air, fog suspended like liquid, and the blood moon hanging like a bleeding eye above the treetops. The pulse of her magic synced with her heartbeat, and Calla felt a strange mixture of terror and exhilaration. She was standing on the edge of something ancient, a threshold that could not be undone. Calla swallowed hard, the rune's glow spreading brighter. "Then we end this. Tonight. No matter what it takes." Luka reached for her hand at last, their fingers brushing. The warmth of him sparked against the cold of the night, grounding her in a way only he could. "Together," he promised again, voice unwavering. "Always." The blood moon climbed higher, crimson spilling over the forest. Shadows stretched long, moving unnaturally along the trunks. Calla's runes flared, responding to the moon's pull, and a whisper, faint, ancient, urgent, danced at the edge of her consciousness. "Guardian, fulfill the oath, or be consumed." She met Luka's gaze, determination blazing through the fear. The hollow was waking. The blood moon was here, and they were ready. With hands intertwined and hearts pounding, they stepped deeper into the crimson-lit forest, shadows pressing around them like living things. The night held its breath. The war for Hollow Pines had begun again. The blood moon hung low over Hollow Pines, casting the forest in deep crimson shadows. Calla and Luka moved through the misted paths, every step crunching softly against frost-kissed pine needles. Even with the rune on her wrist pulsing in tandem with the moon, Calla felt the weight of anticipation pressing against her chest. Something, or someone, was waiting for them. A flicker of movement ahead made her freeze. Shadows shifted unnaturally between the trees, and for a moment, she thought it was another Nightborn remnant. But when the figure stepped into a faint beam of crimson light, she saw a man, tall, lean, with hair dark as midnight, and eyes that seemed almost too knowing, too steady for a stranger. "Calla Monroe," he said, his voice smooth and calm, carrying just the right note of authority to unsettle her. "I've been expecting you." Calla's hand flew to her rune, as Luka stepped protectively in front of her, the golden light in his eyes flickering with suspicion. "Who are you?" he demanded, low and warning, his voice slicing through the crimson-hued mist. The man inclined his head slightly, almost amused. "My name is Hale. I am a student of Hollow Pine's forgotten histories, a keeper of knowledge that predates your little town." He gestured to the glowing rune on Calla's wrist. "And you, Guardian, carry more than you know." Calla's pulse quickened, a mix of curiosity and unease. "You know about the rune?" she asked, her voice tight. "You know about the hollow?" Hale's dark eyes glimmered faintly in the moonlight. "I know about the blood oath, the hollow, and the guardian who carries its power. Your mother, she left me clues. I was waiting for the right moment to guide you." Luka's hands tightened at his sides, subtle growls threading beneath his words. "Guide her, or manipulate her," Kyle's gaze flicked to Luka, unshaken. Neither. I serve the oath, not the guardian. Yet the guardian must understand the truth before the hollow fully awakens. And that truth is, you cannot face this alone. Calla swallowed hard. She felt the weight of his words pressing against her chest, the same pressing tension that had haunted her since the first whispers of the forest returned. Something about Cale unsettled her. Not his manner, which was calm. Not even the way his eyes seemed to see too much. But the feeling that he was both necessary and dangerous, a presence that could either save or undo her. You expect me to trust you? Calla asked, voice low, almost fragile against the thick crimson light. Cale smiled faintly, and it was more a curve of calculation than warmth. No, he admitted, you should not. But trust is not required. Understanding is. The forest around them seemed to lean closer, shadows stretching unnaturally as the blood moon's glow intensified. Calla felt the pulse of the hollow thrumming beneath her feet, mirrored by the rapid heartbeat in her chest. Every instinct screamed that Cale's arrival meant something pivotal. Luka's golden eyes glowed brighter, a subtle growl vibrating in his chest. If you try anything, he said, his tone a threat as much as a promise, you won't leave these woods alive. Cale's smile remained, calm, unnerving. I am no threat unless you make me one. I am the guide who cannot interfere, the witness who cannot intervene. Unless the oath demands it. Calla's gaze flicked between the two men, her pulse racing not just with fear but with something darker, something potent, the pull of destiny, the intertwining of power and responsibility that had always been hers to bear. She clenched her fists at her sides, feeling the silver veins of her rune flare faintly in response to the blood moon's intensity. Then show me, she said finally, her voice steadier than she felt. Tell me what I need to know, before it's too late. Cale inclined his head once more, and the shadows of the forest seemed to bend around him as he spoke. The blood moon calls forth what was hidden. The hollow will awaken, and the night-born remnants will rise. You must master your power, understand your bond, and face the truth of the oath, or hollow pines will burn. Calla swallowed hard, the weight of his words settling like a stone in her chest. Luka's hand brushed hers instinctively, grounding her, a tether to the world outside the forest's whispering. She could feel the pulse of his magic intertwined with hers, a reminder that together they had survived once, and could survive again. But Cale's eyes lingered on her wrist, on the rune, with a look that was unreadable, unnerving, and absolute. Time is shorter than you think, he said, and the blood moon does not wait for hesitation. The forest held its breath around them, thick crimson mist curling through the ancient pines. Calla glanced at Luka, at the warmth in his golden eyes, and felt a flicker of courage spark amidst the rising tension. They were not alone. Not yet. And together, they could face whatever was coming. For the first time since the whispers returned, Calla felt the full weight of her destiny settle upon her shoulders, and for the first time she felt ready to meet it. Hand in hand, they continued deeper into the forest, the blood moon casting long scarlet shadows behind them, signaling that the hollow was awakening, and that the battle for hollow pines had entered its deadliest phase. The forest had grown even quieter, as if holding its breath, letting only the occasional snap of a branch betray its presence. Calla could feel the blood moon's pulse in her veins, a relentless rhythm that synced with her heartbeat. Each step she took beside Luka felt heavier, not from exhaustion, but from the tension between them, the bond they shared, once a source of strength, now an unpredictable force. Luka's golden eyes flickered as he watched her, a barely perceptible unease in the way he flexed his fingers. Calla noticed the subtle tension in his shoulders, the way his jaw tightened when she glanced at him. Their soul bond, which had always tied them together in protection and understanding, now pulsed erratically, a living thing struggling against its constraints. "Do you feel that?" Calla asked, breaking the silence. Her voice was soft, almost swallowed by the rustling of leaves. Luka's eyes met hers, wide and troubled. "Yes," he admitted, his tone low. "The bond, it's reacting to the blood moon. It's changing." Calla's pulse quickened. "Changing how?" "It's showing me things," Luka said, his voice tight with frustration. "Visions. You dying. Me losing control. The hollow consuming you. All of it at once, like a warning." Calla shivered, the rune on her wrist pulsing in sharp bursts. She gripped it instinctively, the silver veins spreading farther up her arm. I thought it was supposed to help us protect each other." "And it does," Luka said, stepping closer, his hand hovering near hers. "But sometimes protection comes at a price we're not ready to pay." The shadows of the blood moon stretched across the forest floor, twisting with every movement of the mist. Calla could almost feel the hollow stirring beneath their feet, alive, aware of her presence. The whispers she had first heard on the ridge now returned, soft and insistent, threading through her mind like a cold finger. "Guardian. Guardian. Fulfill your oath." Calla swallowed hard, trying to steady herself. "Then we have to control it," she whispered, "before it controls us." Luka nodded, though the strain in his eyes betrayed his worry. He reached for her hand at last, their fingers brushing. The warmth of his touch clashed with the icy pull of the hollow, a tether to reality in a night that felt increasingly unworldly. But as their hands touched, the bond reacted violently. Images flashed behind Calla's closed eyelids, visions of Luka in his wolf form, uncontrollable and fierce, tearing through shadows she couldn't name. And then herself, consumed by silver light, screaming as the forest rose around her like a living prison. She stumbled backward, clutching her wrist. The rune burned brighter, and a thin line of pain traced up her arm. It's too much," she gasped. "I can't." Luka caught her, holding her steady. His golden eyes softened, though worry still lingered at the edges. "You can," he said, voice fierce. "You've always been able to. But we'll have to face this together, Calla. Whatever comes next, we face it together." The blood moon bathed the trees in deep crimson, its light turning every shadow into a predator. The forest seemed alive now, the mist coiling like fingers brushing against their legs, testing, teasing. Calla felt the pulse of her magic answering every movement of the hollow, flaring in tandem with the moon. It was exhilarating and terrifying, a reminder that the power inside her was not yet hers to command fully. She looked up at Luka, golden eyes gleaming with trust and warning all at once. "I don't want to lose control," she admitted, her voice shaking. "I don't want to hurt you, or anyone." Luka's hand tightened over hers, grounding her. "Then don't," he said simply. "Focus on us. Focus on now. We'll learn it together." Calla nodded, drawing in a steadying breath. The whispers of the hollow faded slightly, though not entirely. The forest held its breath, waiting, watching, the crimson light from the blood moon reflecting in the silver veins of her rune. For the first time since the blood moon rose, Calla felt a glimmer of control, fragile, fleeting, but real. She met Luka's gaze, and in the shared pulse of the bond, she found a measure of strength. The hollow was stirring, unpredictable and dangerous, but with Luka by her side, she could face it. Together they stepped deeper into the crimson-lit forest, the bond between them taut, alive, and quivering, a rope stretched over a precipice. Every heartbeat, every shared glance, every touch held the weight of destiny. And in the silence of the trees, beneath the blood moon, they both knew. The hardest trials were only beginning. The forest had thickened, shadows pressing closer as Calla and Luka followed Cale's lead along a winding, moss-covered path. The blood moon hung low, casting the trees in deep red, and the mist curled around their ankles like living smoke. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the hollow itself resisted their approach. There, Cal whispered, pointing to a barely noticeable dip in the earth, hidden beneath twisted roots and creeping vines. The entrance to the tomb yawned like a dark mouth, ancient stone steps leading downward into blackness. A faint silver glow from Calla's rune reflected off the moss, illuminating the carved symbols etched into the weathered stones. Calla swallowed hard. This is it? Kyle nodded. The tomb of the first guardian, the one who sealed the hollow long before your mother. What lies beneath may hold the answers you need, or the truth you fear. Luka's golden eyes narrowed, his body tense. And you're sure it's safe? Kale's lips curved faintly. Nothing inside a tomb this old is truly safe. Calla's pulse quickened as they descended the steps. The air grew colder, heavier, scented with earth and decay. Shadows pooled in the corners, moving subtly as if watching. She gripped Luka's hand tightly, feeling the steady warmth of him grounding her amidst the oppressive chill. The rune on her wrist pulsed in response to the tomb's magic, silver veins flaring faintly against her skin. At the bottom, the chamber opened into a wide, vaulted space. Dust hung thick in the air, catching the crimson light from above through cracks in the stone ceiling. In the center lay a stone sarcophagus, carved with symbols that mirrored those glowing faintly along Calla's arm. The air thrummed with latent power, vibrating in tandem with the blood moon above. Kyle stepped forward, brushing dust from the sarcophagus lid. Your mother left me clues because she knew this day would come. The guardian's power, the blood oath. It has always demanded a sacrifice. Not of life, necessarily, but of self. The oath must be completed. Calla felt a chill crawl down her spine. Sacrifice? How? Me? Kyle's gaze was steady, unnerving. The hollow requires balance. You are its guardian. If you do not accept your full inheritance, the bond, the power, the blood oath, the hollow will awaken unchecked. Hollow pines, everyone you love, they will be consumed. Luka's jaw tightened. Then we stop it. Together. There has to be another way. Kyle's eyes flicked to him. The hollow is older than hope, stronger than love, and indifferent to your defiance. The only way to protect your world is to embrace the truth of the oath, fully. Calla's breath caught. She traced the symbols on the sarcophagus with trembling fingers, the rune on her arm flaring in recognition. Her mother, her lineage. It all led to this moment. The power inside her surged, and she realized how little she truly understood about it. Each beat of her heart echoed in the tomb, mingling with the latent hum of the hollow's presence. The chamber shifted subtly, the shadows bending as if alive. Calla could feel the hollow beneath the stones, awakening at the touch of the blood moon, responding to the pulse of her magic. It was intoxicating, terrifying, a force older than any she had faced. I don't know if I can do this, she whispered, voice trembling. I don't know if I can carry all of it. Luka stepped closer, golden eyes blazing with fierce determination. He brushed a strand of hair from her face, thumb resting lightly on her cheek. You can, he said softly, because I'll be with you. Every step, every heartbeat. You won't face this alone. Calla drew a steadying breath, feeling the weight of the oath settle on her shoulders. The rune flared again, bright and silver, and a whisper echoed in her mind. Her mother's voice, faint but resolute. Guardian, fulfill your destiny. Protect what you love. You are the oath. Cale stepped back, giving them space, his expression unreadable. Time is short, he said. The blood moon will not wait. Soon, the hollow will rise fully. You must choose mastery of your power or destruction. Calla met Luka's gaze, seeing both fear and trust mirrored there. The room pulsed with latent magic, shadows twisting as if alive. She felt the gravity of the moment settle into her bones. The blood moon above was rising, the hollow below was awakening, and the path ahead demanded courage she wasn't sure she possessed. Yet, hand in hand, hearts thundering in sync, Calla and Luka prepared to face the tomb's secret. The ancient magic, the weight of generations, and the promise of the oath waited for her, and there was no turning back. The shadows pressed closer, the rune burned brighter, and the forest above held its breath as the guardian stepped fully into her inheritance. The shadows of the tomb seemed to pulse with a life of their own, twisting along the walls as if breathing. Calla could feel the hollow stirring beneath her feet, each heartbeat echoing in the chamber like a drum. Her rune flared brighter, silver veins crawling up her arm, and the warmth it radiated was almost unbearable. Luka stood close, his golden eyes glowing faintly in the dim red light from the blood moon above. His form radiated tension, not just from the physical strain of guarding her, but from the bond between them, which now throbbed like a living entity, tugging at their hearts and wills alike. Calla's breaths came in shallow, urgent gasps. "It's overwhelming," she whispered. Her fingers trembled as she touched the rune. "I can feel it trying to take over." Luka's hand reached for hers, steadying her, grounding her in the storm of power. "Then fight with me," he said, voice low and urgent. "Not just with magic, but with us. Our bond, our connection. It's stronger than the hollow wants you to believe." But as their hands met, the bond reacted violently. A surge of raw energy coursed through Calla's body, hot and jagged, and the rune on her wrist flared to life, projecting silver light across the walls. The shadows in the tomb shifted in response, writhing as if alive. Calla stumbled back, clutching her arm as visions struck her mind. Luka's golden eyes turning black, the wolf within him untamed and savage, tearing through enemies she couldn't name. Then herself, trapped in a cage of light and shadow, screaming as the hollow rose around her. Calla's voice broke. "I can't control it." Luka caught her before she fell, holding her tightly. His wolf instincts surged, but he forced them back, keeping himself tethered to his humanity. "Yes, you can," he said firmly. "Focus. Don't let it scare you. You faced worse and survived. This is just another test." Calla's breath hitched, the visions lancing through her like knives. She pressed her free hand to her chest, trying to steady her racing heart, trying to anchor herself to reality. "It's too much. I can feel it trying to take everything," she whispered. The shadows shifted again, darker now, encroaching on the silver glow of the rune. The hollow's whispers grew louder, curling into her mind. "Guardian, lose control. Embrace the darkness." Luka's hands gripped her shoulders, golden eyes blazing. "No," he growled softly, his voice a tether against the chaos. "You are not alone. Feel me. Feel us. Your power doesn't consume you. It chooses you because you can wield it. Trust yourself. Trust me." Calla closed her eyes, letting the warmth of Luka's hand and the pulse of their bond anchor her. Slowly the vision subsided, fading to shadows behind her eyelids. Her rune burned, but she felt the power begin to bend to her will, the silver light steadying instead of lancing erratically. I can feel it," she whispered, voice trembling with awe and fear. "I can control it, a little." "Yes," Luka said, his voice low and reverent. "That's it. You're stronger than you know." He brushed a damp strand of hair from her face, the simple intimacy grounding them both amidst the encroaching power. "We'll face it together every step." Kyle, standing a few paces away, observed silently, expression unreadable. "The hollow is testing her," he said finally, voice low, "and it will not relent until she proves herself worthy. Every guardian must break before they are reforged." Calla's chest rose and fell rapidly, the pulse of the hollow still thrumming through the tomb. She looked at Luka, at his steady golden gaze, and felt a surge of courage ignite. "Then we face it," she said, gripping his hand tightly, Whatever comes, we face it together. The blood moon outside bathed the tomb in crimson light, the rune flaring in response. Shadows twisted and writhed, but Calla no longer felt fear, only determination. She had crossed the line of uncertainty and stepped fully into her inheritance. The hollow tested her, but she would not falter. Not tonight. And in the silence that followed, with only the heartbeat of the tomb and the pulse of the blood moon above, Calla and Luka stood side by side, tethered by love, bound by power, ready for the storm the hollow would unleash. The breaking point had come, and they had survived it together. The air in the tomb was thick with magic, vibrating with the pulse of the blood moon above. Calla's rune glowed brightly, silver veins crawling up her arm and into her shoulder, a living thread of power connecting her to the hollow itself. Luka's presence beside her anchored her, a tether of warmth and humanity amidst the ancient malevolent energy pressing down from the shadows. Kyle stepped back, his expression unreadable but intense. "The blood oath must be completed," he said, his voice low, carrying weight and inevitability. "It is not merely a spell. It is the convergence of your power, your bond, and your destiny. Without it, the hollow will awaken in its entirety." Calla swallowed, feeling the weight of generations pressing on her shoulders. "And if I fail?" she whispered. "You will not fail," Luka said fiercely, brushing her hair from her face. "I will not let you. Whatever happens, we face it together." The tomb shifted around them as though the hollow itself were listening. Shadows stretched and twisted along the stone walls, murmuring in a language older than the town itself. Calla could feel the entities watching, weighing her, testing her resolve. The blood moon above shone through cracks in the stone ceiling, crimson light spilling across the sarcophagus at the chamber's center. "This is it," Cale said, stepping aside. "Place your hand upon the sarcophagus and accept the oath. Let the hollow know who commands its power, and who it must protect." Calla approached slowly, her pulse pounding in rhythm with the magic thrumming through her veins. She felt Luka's hand graze hers, a grounding warmth she desperately needed. Their fingers intertwined, and she drew strength from him. The hollow stirred beneath the tomb, the pulse of its dark power lashing against her, testing, seeking weakness. I accept," she whispered, pressing her hand to the cold stone. Silver light flared from her rune, spreading across the sarcophagus, racing along the carved symbols etched centuries ago. Shadows shrieked and twisted as if the hollow itself cried out in challenge, but Calla focused, channeling the bond with Luka, the lessons of her mother, the strength she had found in herself. Luka's golden eyes glowed brightly as he murmured her name. "Calla, I'm here. Always." The light from the rune coalesced, forming intricate patterns across the chamber, illuminating every shadow, revealing symbols that had lain hidden for generations. The hollow pulsed violently beneath them, a tremor running through the ground that made the tomb shudder. Calla's chest burned, her vision flaring with silver light, yet she did not falter. A low, resonant roar echoed from the depths of the hollow, shaking the walls. Shadows swirled around her, clawing at her mind, trying to tear the bond apart. Luka tightened his grip, a steady anchor. "Focus on us, Calla. Focus on what we've survived. You are stronger than it knows." Calla's eyes filled with tears, but she did not break. She poured every ounce of will, every heartbeat, into the oath. The hollow shrieked, and the tomb vibrated with the fury of 1,000 lost souls, yet she pressed on, unflinching. Finally, the chamber fell silent. The shadows withdrew, the light from her rune stabilizing into a steady silver glow. Calla collapsed against Luka, trembling, but alive. She had done it. She had completed the blood oath. Luka gathered her into his arms, brushing away the tears from her cheeks. "You did it," he whispered. "You completed it. Hollow Pines is safe. Because of you." Kyle nodded, his expression somber yet approving. "The oath is fulfilled." But remember, Guardian, power always comes with a price. You now carry the hollow within you, and it will never leave. Calla looked at Luka, her heart full of both fear and relief. Then we face it together, she said softly, voice steady despite the exhaustion coursing through her. Always, Luka replied, brushing her hair from her face once more, golden eyes glimmering with devotion and love. The blood moon above reached its zenith, crimson light spilling through the cracks in the tomb ceiling. For the first time in centuries, the hollow was at peace. Its fury contained, its power tethered to a guardian who had proven her strength, her courage, and her love. Outside, the forest seemed to exhale, shadows retreating, the fog thinning. Hollow pines slept, unaware of the ancient battle fought beneath its roots, unaware of the girl who had stepped fully into her destiny. Calla pressed her forehead against Luka's chest, feeling the steady beat of his heart beneath her palm. "We survived," she whispered. "Yes," he said softly, "and we always will. Together." For a moment the weight of destiny lifted. The blood moon's crimson glow softened, turning silver and pale as though acknowledging her triumph. Calla had completed the oath, and the hollow would never threaten her home again. They stood together in the tomb, hands clasped, hearts tethered, the bond between them stronger than ever. The shadows of the past had been faced, the oath fulfilled, and the future, though uncertain, felt theirs to shape. The first rays of dawn slipped through the trees of hollow pines, pale gold cutting through the lingering crimson haze of the blood moon. The forest seemed to exhale, mist curling lazily around the roots and trunks, retreating like a tide after a storm. Calla stood at the edge of the stone circle, wrist still glowing faintly with the rune of the oath, now steady and calm. Beside her, Luka's presence was grounding, golden eyes soft in the morning light. His hand brushed against hers, a silent promise that had endured every trial, every shadow, every heartbeat of fear. They had faced the hollow, completed the blood oath, and survived. Hollow Pines was quiet once more, the threat contained, yet the weight of what they had done lingered in the air like smoke. Calla's gaze drifted to the silver tree that now stood where the sarcophagus had been sealed beneath the forest floor. Its leaves shimmered faintly in the dawn, as though alive with the magic of the hollow, transformed from a place of threat into a symbol of protection. She exhaled, a slow, trembling breath, and for the first time in what felt like an eternity, she allowed herself a small, genuine smile. "It's over," she whispered, though the word felt strange, almost fragile. "All of it. It's over." Luka's golden eyes softened as he brushed a strand of hair from her face. "It's never truly over," he said gently, voice low with both affection and gravity. "But for now, peace has returned. Because of you, Calla. Because of what you became." Calla looked at him, at the man who had been her protector, her anchor, and her heart through every shadowed moment. The bond mark on her wrist pulsed faintly, a silver reminder of the oath completed, the hollow tamed, and the life she had claimed as her own. "I couldn't have done it without you," she murmured, voice trembling with gratitude and something deeper, something unspoken that lingered between them like the mist. Luka's lips curved into a faint, bittersweet smile. "And I couldn't have survived it without you. We're tethered now, not just by the oath, but by everything. The hollow may be gone, but this bond, it's ours." For a long moment, silence settled over them, filled with the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant calls of waking birds. Hollow Pines slept peacefully, unaware of the war that had raged beneath its roots, of the power that had surged through the bloodlines of guardians, of the sacrifices made to secure its safety. Yet Calla and Luka knew, and that knowledge, shared and sacred, bound them more tightly than any shadow could. Calla rested her forehead against Luka's chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heartbeat beneath her palm. "So, what are we now?" she asked softly, the question heavy with hope and uncertainty. Luka's gaze met hers, golden eyes glowing faintly in the dawn. He brushed a thumb across her cheek, warm and grounding, and smiled. "Whatever you want," he said, voice gentle but unwavering. "As long as I'm still allowed to protect you." A quiet breeze rustled through the pines, carrying with it a whisper of the hollow, faint, respectful, and finally at peace. The forest itself seemed to acknowledge her triumph, shimmering softly, the silver glow of the rune fading into a calm, enduring light. Calla felt the pulse of power settle in her veins, not as a threat, but as a promise, a bond to the land, to Luka, and to her own destiny. They lingered in the circle a long while, hand in hand, watching as the dawn spread across the valley, painting hollow pines in gentle gold and silver. The events of the past nights, the trials, the blood moon, the oath, all of it had led them here. And now, standing side by side, they were no longer merely survivors of the hollow. They were its guardians, its champions, its hope. Calla drew a deep, steadying breath, feeling the world awaken around her. "We made it," she whispered, voice both relieved and reverent. "Yes," Luka agreed, his hand tightening over hers. "Together. Always." The sun rose higher, scattering the last wisps of crimson from the blood moon. The forest was alive in a new way now, serene but vigilant, reflecting the transformation of the girl who had once trembled at the shadows and the man who had promised never to let her face them alone. The hollow was still a part of them, its power, its magic, its legacy, but it no longer threatened their world. Calla and Luka remained there watching the valley awaken, hearts beating in quiet harmony. Love, sacrifice, and courage had survived the night. And in that moment, they understood what it meant to be truly bound, not by fear, nor by magic alone, but by the unbreakable thread of trust, devotion, and shared destiny. As they turned to walk back toward the town, hand in hand, the forest whispered softly behind them, a lullaby for the new guardians of Hollow Pines.